With the 7th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Sonny Styles, linebacker, Ohio.
Yo, what's going on, everybody, man? This is your boy, man, Mr. Ricky Dose, LIB Media, Lightning in the Bottle. I'm finally back, man. It's been a minute. I know I dropped the video in a minute, but I have been peeping everything that's going on. Man, as y'all know, life happens, man. So, just got busy, just handling business, man, doing what I need to do. But I am here because, of course, the NFL draft has happened. I do want to make a lot of videos to try to catch up on a lot of things that I did not get to talk about that has happened. Like, shout out to my lady Gamecocks that lost in the college basketball, the women's college basketball. I'm a little hurt about that. Shout out to Michigan for pulling it off. And the men's in the NBA playoffs has been going crazy. It's just been so many things that I could touch base on. But the NFL draft, man, have to talk about it. Round 1 happened yesterday. So I'm recording this video on April 24th. So rounds 2 and 3 happened tonight. But as of right now, they haven't happened yet. It's about 4 p.m. So I just want to talk about round 1. So y'all know kind of how I do these videos, man. I want to kind of just run through, share my screen and kind of just run through everything, all the picks, kind of give my thoughts. I think some people knocked it out the park. I think some people not so much. So let's just go ahead and dive straight into it and get it started. The number 1 pick was for Fernando Mendoza. Don't really got no comments there. I'm a fan of Fernando. He shows up in big moments. He may not have all the tools, but he definitely shows up in big moments. I think that translates. He went number 1. David Bailey went number 2. If I was the Jets, I would take him. He was the best pass rusher I had on my board from watching my own personal film. So I give that an A+. I would take him immediately over the other pass rushers, of course. Jeremiah Love, I think, is an awful pick for the Cardinals. I know everyone is saying he's a generational talent, which is fine, but running backs need other things to be successful unless you actually are generational. Maybe you might be a Walter Payton or a Barry Sanders or something, and maybe that could be that, but as of right now, we don't really know that, and the Cardinals have so many holes, and running back doesn't normally change the tide of a franchise that much. When I'm thinking about it, the only one I can really think about is Dallas. If you want to say Emmitt Smith kind of changed the tide, but they also got other things in-house that changed the tide of that. So to just get a running back and say that going to change the tide for regardless of how generational he is, I think they shouldn't have went with that pick. Cornell Tate to Tennessee. To me, Cornell Tate would have been probably the 3rd or 4th receiver on my board. He doesn't do anything that really sticks out. I know that Ohio State tree is something that people kind of like to lean on. So you could tell he's well coached, but I would think if you was going to take a shot, you take Jordan Tyson. He is the number 1 receiver on my board. Mekhi Lemon is number 2. So, that is what it is. I wouldn't give that a high grade either. Arvell Reese to the Giants, I think, was just an unnecessary pick. I mean, they probably took what they thought was BPA, best player available. So you can't be mad at that. He is a very toolsy player that could translate to something and maybe not translate to nothing. As y'all go see a common theme in this video with me is that I like when I kind of scout players, I like the proven talent over quote unquote what they call upside. I don't really care too much about that. I care to an extent that you should be able to grow as a player. You shouldn't be a completed player, but you also shouldn't be just a raw nothing and we're just going off of hope. So let's continue. Mansell Delane, I think the Chiefs got played. I think the Chiefs wanted Arvell Reese when they saw that he dropped past Tennessee because they traded up right around that time and the Giants took him. And I think they took Mansell Delane kind of just out of necessity because they traded up over my Washington Commanders and the Saints, which I don't think any of us was going to take Mansell Delane. So I think they kind of played themselves a little bit. But the first corner goes off the board. I think it's something that they could use because they didn't need corners. So I think it was a good transition for them. Sonny Styles came to Washington. I wanted Caleb Downs myself personally, but Sonny is a freak athlete. It seems like everybody in the house at Washington wanted him. A lot of the fans are happy. I know people wanted him or Jeremiah Love the most. So I'm not mad at the pick. Jordan Tyson too. The Saints, I think, is a knockout of the park. He does have injury concerns, but if he's healthy with him and Olave, and I think Tyler Show, however you pronounce it, I think he's a knockout of the park draft pick. And now you have two elite players to go along with him. So I think that's a great pick. Spencer Farnell to Cleveland, great pick. Protect Shador, really see what you have in that investment. Building the offensive line, I'm never mad at. Same thing with Francis Mainoa. Jackson Dart could be your quarterback of the future if you think so. You build the O-line, even though those are both right tackles, not left tackles, which is why they kind of went further down. I hate to say this, but Caleb Downs is an A++ pick for Dallas. They needed secondary help. Caleb Downs is my number one rated player in the entire draft, pound for pound. Safety is not a position that will go super high, but I think that was a knockout of the park pick for Dallas. Caden Proctor, I think, is an awful pick for the Dolphins. He is a project player. He's been overweight in college, and then he lost the weight, and then he couldn't block nobody. And Alabama was putting him on offense, and it's like, oh, he's toolsy and all that, and I don't really care for all of that stuff. So I think that's an awful pick for the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins had two awful picks, but that's just me. Ty Simpson to the Rams, I think, is a great pick. I don't mind. They overdrafted for him, so they took him too high. But I don't mind because he's not going to be a day one starter. And so I think if he sits for 2 years, the last 2 years, Matthew Stafford will probably play football. I think his style and everything kind of translates to Matthew Stafford. No, he doesn't have the arm strength Matt Stafford had when he first came out, but he doesn't need it because Matt Stafford can no longer throw the ball that hard either. So he'll be learning from an older player and learn how to just scan the field, make good reads. I know he out of Penn State is a very Ravens type pick. Not mad at it. He's a good guard. He's probably the best player on Penn State this year because Penn State, all of their other players fell apart. Ruben Bain, the Tampa Bay, I mean, he dropped. Somebody was going to take him. We all know the short arms is the thing they bring up about him, but still a good player nonetheless. Worst case scenario, he'll still be a good run stopper, even if he can't get after the quarterback at the next level. Kenyon Sadiq is a great pick for the Jets. The Jets are just kind of building talent, taking players who can become staple players while they search to find their quarterback. Blake Miller out of Clemson to the Lions. I'm not mad at. I didn't have him that high. I wasn't super high on Blake Miller, but people like Tommy Shaden was talking about him, so I'm not mad at that. It's a tackle you can build on. Kind of go for it. Caleb Banks, I think, was also overdrafted. I think people love his upside, even though the stats and stuff wasn't really there in college. People just love what they think he can be. It's kind of the same for Monroe Freeling going to Carolina, but from watching the tape, I believe in Monroe Freeling. He actually did it on the field more than Caleb Banks did. Caleb Banks got hurt a lot and all of that, but he is a freakish athlete, so I get it. Mekhi Lemon, once again, my division is knocking it out of the park. Great pick for the Eagles. He is a lineup. You can line him up anywhere, receiver. Hopefully this opens up the offense for the Eagles. Do the Eagles have a quarterback problem? We're going to kind of see this year. A.J. Brown is going to move on. They needed to fill that role, so they traded up and did it. Not matter that Max Inacker can't pronounce his name, but I know the player. Looked at him. He is a decent tackle out of Arizona State. He probably was overdrafted too. I think most of the offensive players in this league, in this draft, are overdrafted just due to the simple fact that it wasn't a lot of great offensive talent in this particular draft. Mesidor out of Miami, the edge on the other side of Bain, went to the Chargers. I mean, they lost a lot of pass rushers this offseason. Even one of them came to us, so I know they needed to go edge. Mesidor, the knock on him is that he's a little bit older, like 24 coming out. But I mean, if you can get 6 or 7 years out of him when you're already a playoff team, then you're good. Malachi Lawrence is a guy that I kept my eye on. I saw him at the Senior Bowl and all of those things. I think that was the Senior Bowl, or maybe I started looking at his film around the Senior Bowl time. Not sure, but not mad at the pick. He was probably the well, Zion. Yeah, there's a couple of edges I would have probably took over him, but Dallas needed an edge. They grabbed one because they couldn't get one early in the draft. They settled for Caleb Downs, which is not a bad pick. So I think Dallas had a great draft. Casey Concepcion out of A&M to Cleveland, I think, is also Cleveland knocking the draft out of the park. Got 2 great picks. I agree with both of those picks. Dylan Dinneman to Chicago, I think, is a fantastic pick. I think he's a fantastic player, a great safety. And this is a great spot to grab him at. Keelan Rutledge out of Georgia Tech is a real good tackle. Texans need an offensive line help. There wasn't really probably no tackles left to grab for probably in their mind, so they went guard. Once again, as I said about Miami, Chris Johnson is actually a really good player. But I just think he's overdrafted to trade up in the first round, especially when you have both Tennessee corners still on the board. Like you got McCoy and Hood are still available, and you got Cisse is another corner I had ranked above him. And D'Angelo Pons, who I think is undersized, but is a good corner from Indiana. So I got all of those corners ranked above Chris Johnson. So that's why I think it's a bad pick. Not a bad player, though. Caleb Lomu for the Patriots, I think, is a great pick at a great spot. He was on the other side of Farno. 2 great tackles, coming out. Peter Woods, I think, is a great pick for the Chiefs. I think Mansour Delaney was not who they wanted, but getting Peter Woods late, which is a player, which I was talking about earlier, right? A player that got the upside part, right? But also you see the players on the field. He makes plays on the field that you say, oh, these players can translate, even though his overall body of work didn't present itself the way you wanted it to. This is a player I would take a swing at 29. Omar Cooper Jr., the Jets, again, knocking it out of the park. Omar Cooper Jr., a wide receiver that I like, is a good speed, all around wide receiver out of Indiana. Did it all. You can tell he's well coached. Love it. Keldrick Falk, I think Titans also had a pretty bad draft. Grabbing Keldrick Falk, he's a player who's all upside. He can't stop the run. Everything else about his game is all upside. I've seen scouts even talking about bumping him inside. So I get that. Jadarian Price is a running back that you can look at it both ways. He's a backup, so he doesn't have the mileage on him like most starters would have. And you can look at it like, well, because he's the change of pace back for the most time, he's not getting the brunt force of the defense, right? But I think grabbing him in the first round was way overdrafted. He's probably a 3rd round draft pick. Nice running back when you watch his tape, but that's kind of where I'm at on everything. So let's just look at some best players available that's left. Like McCoy, like I said, of course. Emmanuel McNeil Warren is a player I love. Denzel Boston, I'm a fan. Keaton McDonald's a great player. Cassius Howell, I think he's another one. They talk about his arm length, but I would have taken him if I was Dallas. Eli Stowers, I like I brought up Cisse. CJ Allen and Jacob Rodriguez are really good linebackers. They got Anthony Hill up here too. Zachariah Branch, someone I hope falls to Washington. We really need a receiver. TJ Parker is also a player I think will fall, and somebody will love being able to grab him later on in the draft. So With that being said, I know that was real long-winded, but I just wanted to give everybody my thoughts. It was an exciting draft. I'm texting all the homies at the same time as the picks are coming in. In the group chat, y'all know how that go. Everybody got their favorite team, so everybody hoping players get taken here so they can get players to come to their team and vice versa, man. But this was fun. I'm glad to be back. I definitely want to catch up on a lot of things that I missed. So I'm definitely going to be tuning into the NBA playoffs because I caught a couple of those games as well. So, man, y'all like, comment, subscribe, man, because your boy is back. Y'all was holla at your boy, man. Y'all keep tuning in, man. It's all love out there, man. Everybody have a good one. I'm out. Peace.